Greenland Air Trophy is a fantastic trip for people that want to put themselves a little bit out of their comfort zone and explore their aviation skills.
It's just such an amazing adventure. I don't think there's anything like it in the world. I think it's the only one, and it's a lot of fun.
I think I describe it as an expedition rather than a competition, where a group of aircraft from Europe went over to Narsarsuaq, where we met a group of aircraft from America. In reality, the competition is just an excuse to get you there, and the challenge is actually, as we discovered, the challenge is generally trying to get there.
Well, you know what, I've always wanted to go to Iceland, I've always wanted to go and visit Greenland. I've never had the opportunity, and I've always wanted to do something more with Lucy. That's our PA-28.
I would never say that flying across the Atlantic is anything other than exciting. It's a great adventure.
You know, this was an adventure. It's an adventure for all of us.
Greenland is the second biggest thing you can do as a private pilot, and that was a lifetime journey.
I'm Martin Jones, and alongside Steve Pegg, I was one of the pilots in Team 42, which was called the Lucy Flyers.
My name's Steve Pegg. I'm a bit of a late sort of participant in aviation, really. I started in about 2016. I mean, I've done a lot of flying around the UK, a bit in Scotland, a little bit around Europe as well. And then I wanted something a little bit more challenging, and that's sort of where the Greenland thing came in. So we were Team 42.
And sort of take off at 0904 with 47.
So we set off from Tatenhill and flew up to Dundee.
27.
South 01 Charlie.
And it was great to meet Duncan, Dennis, Piotr, Anna, again, who we hadn't seen since the Duncan training course 2 years prior to that. So that was nice, and then to meet up with Zara and Megan. So we kind of got most of the European team together that night.
Well, my name is Duncan Matthews, and I was part of the Prepare to Go team that put together the Greenland Air Trophy. I flew with Dennis in his Cessna 182, and we were Trophy 21 was our call sign.
My name is Dennis. I'm a German guy living in Switzerland. I'm now 51 years old, and I'm flying since 2014 and finished my license in 2016.
And we flew up to Wick in Scotland, where we met the rest of the team, and in anticipation of leaving to fly across the Atlantic to Greenland.
Well, the start was fantastic. We set off in Scotland, the sun was out, skies were blue, and it was very exciting. It was absolutely great. And when we arrived in Scotland, the weather was lovely. I mean, it couldn't have been a better start, really.
The first flight went to plan, so Steve flew that one up from Dundee up to Wick.
India entering the AZ to the south and joining downwind right hand 13.
I think we took off second. We arrived last because we had the slowest aeroplane in the fleet, and then the plan basically at that point fell apart.
My name's Matt Branson. I am from Granger, Indiana, in the United States, and I have a MAL M5, which I flew to Greenland. I started in Indiana, and then headed towards Boston, which is where Sam was meeting us, as well as Ethan and Tim.
My name's Ethan. I flew for Team USA during the Greenland Air Trophy.
I'm Tim Grohl. I'm Ethan's father. Ethan was the primary pilot, he was the pilot in command throughout the entire mission, and I pretty much served as the safety pilot. We met in Boston, where we start out at. It's a small airport called Norwood in Massachusetts.
From there, we headed up north to Quebec City, then kept going farther north.
Our first stop was in Quebec, Canada. So that was our first stop. Then from there on, after we landed there, we basically just hopped off the field and proceeded to our second stop. I think it was Wabush.
So I decided to join in the Greenland Air Trophy as a way to gain the experience needed for my global circumnavigation.
I don't think, one reason or another, we didn't end up getting to Wabush till probably close to 11 or 12 o'clock, right around midnight.
We just landed in Wabush, it's 10 o'clock and it's still very, very bright. And I guess as the trip goes on, the more north we get, the longer the daytime will be and the more the sun will be out. Eventually, the sun's not gonna go down and it's only going to be light.
So we didn't have any accommodation booked at Wabush. If the weather was good, we would have proceeded on to our next location. Because the next location where the weather wasn't as ideal, so we decided to stay overnight at Wabush. Yes. And all the local accommodations were fully booked. And we ended up sleeping at the airport on these big old leather chairs.
I'm excited to sleep here. I'm excited. Mac, are you excited? I'm excited. You're excited. I don't know what we're doing here, but we're going to spend the night here and we're going to survive.
There's just going to be, exactly.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Do these pop out as well?
Yeah, somebody sleeps on the table.
It's a rocking bed.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Oh, these are crazy soft.
I'm nice and comfortable. Yeah. How's everyone feeling? You feeling well? You feeling well?
Oh yeah.
Feeling well, Matt?
Feel good.
I'm feeling all fantastic.
So come on ahead.
Well, we took various courses because of the weather and the different capabilities of the aircraft. We ended up going in 3 different directions. We had 2 aircraft that flew from Wick to Reykjavik in Iceland, which is a direct track of about 650 miles, but not all the aircraft had the endurance to do that. Our intended track was going to be via the Faroes and then into northeast Iceland to a place called Igelstadir, but the weather on this particular day didn't allow everybody to do that either. So 1 aircraft went directly to Igelstadir and 2 aircraft went up to Sumbra in the Orkneys, and then from there across to Iceland, because that put it about 50 miles closer, but that 50 miles was important for 2 of the aircraft.
We flew up to one of the northern islands in Scotland. Dennis and Duncan, they were flying together, so they came with us.
And Golf Foxtrot India, we are 5 miles final.
Golf Foxtrot India, roger. Cessna head believed to have just under 2 miles to run for runway 09. Proceed to the fire training ground by the eastern taxiway, cross runway 15.
We refueled because we got a little bit closer to Iceland going that way, and then the other guys took a jerry can of fuel in the back, so that if we had to divert somewhere else in Iceland, we had fuel to then continue the journey.
But we couldn't carry enough in our aircraft because we hadn't got any spare capacity, but fortunately Dennis did.
We had these 60 liters extra, but Martin and Steve hadn't the possibility with weight to carry them in their plane. So I carried both of these cans with me.
And so this was one of the first trips, almost the second leg, what is now it's teamwork. True teamwork. So we both flew up to Sumbra together. We took 3 jerry cans with us that we borrowed from Wick, and then we set off on certainly the longest trip I've ever done in the aircraft.
But it was the longest stretch over water by a long stretch I've ever done in my life. I've done 25 miles over water before, half an hour tops, and this is about 4 and a bit hours. So that was a little bit concerning, I suppose.
So we were right on the limits, and no divert options. So we were baptism of fire.
After departing direction Vaga or Egil Stadia, the weather was fine, and also later we were over the cloud layer at 5,000 feet, and it seems to be a very easy and nice flight. 15-30 minutes after passing the Faroe Island, the weather was really not that nice. The cloud layer was complete, so that means we were directly in the clouds. We had no other option. For me it was very special because I'm not an IFR pilot, and we had two options to turn around, go back to Samborough or heading down to Iceland. So Duncan was with me in the plane, and Duncan is a very experienced pilot, ferry pilot, former military pilot, so and he said, yeah, we can handle that. I had my first IFR experience on that way down to Iceland. We couldn't see anything from outside the windows, and my only thing to do was have a look on the instruments that the plane is leveled.
Well, no, the problem is if we get here and we're still in the cloud, then we're too high. We want to come down before here so that we come out of the cloud here when we're close to the land.
This valley is 8 nautical miles wide.
Yeah, sure.
So from this point we can make a descent this way.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, and that was very, very challenging for me, and very special, and I would say my heartbeat was a bit higher than normal.
It's 6 o'clock. We got like 4 or 5 hours of sleep. I'm super tired. We're still in Wabush. We're gonna fly up to Shepherdsville, grab breakfast, and then we'll fly up to Narsarsuaq to spend the night. And yeah, we're still at Wabush Airport. Yeah, let's go fuel up the mall and let's head out.
Hey, do what you gotta do, you know?
A lot better than the way we were playing was in Boston.
We just landed in Shepherdsville. We are in the middle of nowhere.
We ran into some issues with fueling, which I think we kind of sort of knew about. I just didn't know the extent. But we had a jiggle pump, which is basically siphoning fuel. It's just an old school siphoning fuel out of there into jerry cans or into the airplane itself. The problem we ran into is the wings much higher, so we have to get the siphoning up and over. So a couple times we were able to get a forklift to lift Sam and I up, so we'd have the 50-gallon drum up above it and we'd siphon it in. Other times we'd siphon it into little 5-gallon cans to be able to take it up to the top of the wing. So that happened all throughout northern Canada. Basically anything past Quebec City was kind of, we were having to deal with that.
We're so gonna be in the sin bin. I got that. Yeah, I just put it on.
After we get fuel sorted out, we're gonna load up the fuel and we'll head to the hotel and take a break for tonight.
I would wait with putting the suit on for a few minutes. You've got half an hour. I would focus.
We actually missed a stop on day 3 between Narsarsuaq and Iqaluit. But the problem was Matt, Sam, and Max stopped over there, and we were carrying their fuel. So when they landed there, Matt, Mac, and Sam didn't have enough fuel to get to Iqaluit. So what ended up happening was they had to run into the local gas station in this like village of 200-300 people in their suits, grab some gas, fuel up, and then fly over there. And I didn't realize I skipped a stop until I got over there and waited half an hour, and they just weren't anywhere near me.
Luckily, Matt has one of those planes at the mall, and the engine is designed in a way that it could take regular gas, petrol. So that worked out in their favor, basically.
The following day, we then flew from there round the coast of Iceland to Reykjavik, the capital.
And then we set off for Reykjavik, or we tried to set off for Reykjavik.
Have an Aspen. I can smell burning. And Golf Foxtrot India, we're going to abandon the takeoff. We can smell burning. Something's burning. That's burning.
All right, roger that.
So I was actually in the process of taking off. We got a little kind of whiff of burning smell, and then the computer screen cut out. So slammed on the anchors, pulled back in, got the fire extinguisher out ready just in case.
So we abandoned our takeoff, tried to sort it out, couldn't sort it out, and you can imagine it. They go, you know, we've waited 3 years, and the aircraft's broken. Oh no. So we were quite deflated at the time. It's probably the best way of putting it.
Our primary flight display, electronic display, failed. That was on day 2 of our 16-day journey. And we've had this thing fitted for about 5 years without a single day's problem.
But there was nowhere there to fix it. The only thing we could do was actually try and see if we could get it fixed at Reykjavik. And the aircraft was still flyable. So we isolated some electrics, decided that we'd go all the way around the coast, staying clear of any cloud.
Turning final, approximately 3 miles out.
And again, so Steve flew that into Reykjavik, so we were in the right place at the right time. But again, now we got to worry that could we carry on? Could we get the aircraft fixed, and could we carry on?
And we stayed overnight in Reykjavik, and the following day was a no-fly day. So we had a wander around Reykjavik, saw the sights and the cathedral.
In day 4, we landed in Narsarsuaq, which was our last stop and northernmost stop in Canada. And so we stayed there overnight. But we ended up stopping in Pang, mainly because I found what they had in Pang super interesting. So a fun fact is that the world's northernmost KFC exists in Pang. I was just super determined and set on going to that KFC no matter what. I was like, listen, the highlight of my trip is going to be that KFC. And I was like, no matter what's going to happen, I'm going to go there. And so got out of the airplanes. We stayed in our like survival suits. So it was like we were walking through the street with like 200 people in like glowing red, orange, yellow, black suits like astronauts. We walked into this KFC with nobody in.
This is a KFC.
It was overpriced. We ordered, like, we tried ordering stuff. Everything is out of stock. And the only thing they had was like chicken finger and fries. And after waiting for half an hour, we had the chicken fingers and fries. It was probably the nastiest chicken fingers and fries I've ever had. But it was definitely worth it because, you know, now you can say you went to the northernmost KFC. So it was worth it.
Mac, he was with me. As we're flying just inside the Arctic Circle, we're flying through a canyon area, and we found a spot to land. It was that no one's ever been to, which is kind of cool too. So it was just off of a braided river up in the Arctic. It was a pretty difficult landing. The video doesn't give it much justice. Tim and Ethan had Sam on their airplane in the 182, and they were able to do a quick flyby once they were able to find us because it was such a massive area.
We didn't have our bush wheels installed, so we couldn't land there. So instead of landing there, we just decided to do some flybys around just to say wave and say hi.
Following morning, we were first at the airfield, and we got 2 engineers to pore over the aircraft all day. They even flew in a spare unit, the only other spare unit that they could find in Iceland, and that didn't work either. You know, we spent all day with the engineers going, I think we might have to go back.
Because the question did cross my mind, is that, you know, do we carry on? Because we are on backup instruments, but do we really carry on when our primary instruments aren't working properly? Again, these are all things that you have to kind of, because we waited 3 years, we didn't really want to sort of not carry on.
Hi, my name's Megan. I'm from Bolton in the United Kingdom, 30 years old, and I'm a commercial pilot. For this trip, I was in a team with Zara Rutherford.
My name is Zara Rutherford. I'm currently 23 years old and I'm from Belgium. So we spent one night in Reykjavik, then I believe the next day we went to the north to Isafjordur.
It had been my birthday, so going from Reykjavik to Isafjordur was the most amazing day I've probably ever had. I mean, Iceland is just a beautiful, beautiful country.
Reykjavik to Isafjordur was a real fun fly, and that's what we wanted for Iceland. Because on the fly before, we could only see a little bit of Iceland, not very much, just the coastline. That was interesting, but not what I expected. And from Reykjavik to Isafjordur, the weather conditions were much more better.
So we called Duncan, and Duncan said, well, the weather's all right up here, so you'll make it up here, you know, come and have a chat up here. So we set off and flew all the way around the coast.
Runway 13 clear takeoff and left-hand turkey. Turn out for departure number 1, Golf Fox India.
We knew we could safely carry on. The point is, if it hadn't been safe to carry on, we wouldn't have done it. So we did the whole rest of the journey on all the backup instruments.
then later I walked around the city by myself just to have a view, the nice colorful houses over there. So when I sat on the coastline to watch over the ocean, I heard the engine sound from above, and Steve and Martin arrived then. That was the same time I sat on the beach, watched them overflying me and then coming to Isafjordur. That was real fun. I was really happy for them that they could follow us and that they don't had to stay in Reykjavik and ended up the trophy. So that was really nice.
So the next day, I was in a bit of a different mindset because it was going to be a bit more of a challenging flight, and it was also the first time that I would have crossed any really frozen water.
And then the following day we flew from there to Narsarsuaq, which is on the east coast of Greenland. And this is probably the most challenging leg for most of the pilots because it's pretty much a one-way trip. We can't really come back after a certain point, so we've got to be sure we can get there. We very much have a point of no return on that leg. So we fly across pretty much in a straight line. It's about 350 miles over the sea, and about 70 to 80 miles away generally you can see Greenland, which is a fantastic sight as it sort of grows out of the water, and it is rugged. There is nothing there, absolutely nothing there.
As we approached the coast of Greenland, the coast of Greenland is just enough to melt all your worries away. It's these incredible mountains just rising out of the sea. No beaches, but it was, slate grey sea, and then black mountains, and then snow. And it was just beautiful and monochromatic and forbidding and all kinds of awesome things. As we turned around the corner to approach into Narsarsuaq, it was the most impressive sight I've ever seen in my life, until the next day when I went to Narsarsuaq. So flying through the mountains to get to the airport was just an incredible experience.
And in day 5, we headed towards Sisumut, Greenland. So that would be our first Atlantic crossing. Just landed in Greenland, new continent, new country.
Would you mind walking about 30 meters behind us?
Yeah, just walk slightly behind us.
Charles, this is a new Gucci outfit. This is how we do it. Okay, now you stay there. Now you're here, and we do this. Okay, just give me just look at this.
Look away.
Well, he left his shoes in the plane, so now he has to wear the suit with the hat shoes and walk to the airport, and at least walk around the town like that for the rest of the day.
So we're going to a fashion show tonight. You guys can watch me eat. Welcome to Greenland. Yeah. Second country of the trip. Yeah. All right.
And so from Sissamute, we made our way down south of the coast. We went from Sissamute to Kangerlussuaq, and from Kangerlussuaq, we went to Nuuk. So the flight, the weather wasn't too bad, but the main concern with Greenland is that Greenland's terrain is just not that friendly. Like the coast is not like how you imagine most coasts, which are like beaches, sand, flat. No. Greenland's coast is this jagged, spiky, mountainous, dangerous, rocky. And so if you have an engine failure, it is not going to be fun. It's like you're surrounded by mountains and you just get impaled and stabbed by these huge mountains. So its terrain is not friendly. But the weather was good, and we had our survival equipment, so we trusted our training and we trusted our equipment, and we flew safely from Sissamute to Kangerlussuaq, and then from there we flew to Nuuk, which is the capital of Greenland.
And we'd left Kulusuk, and I had a route in mind to try and stay nice and low underneath the cloud, still kind of hugging the coast. And about half an hour in, I realized that wasn't going to work. The clouds were really kind of pushing us down to the point where I think at one point we were at 600 feet, and it wasn't looking too good.
We were okay for maybe 45 minutes, and then we started being pushed lower and lower and lower. And usually, when you're going lower through the air, the temperature will get warmer. But at those kind of latitudes, when there's sea ice and it's frozen, then the air above the sea, directly above the sea, can be significantly colder than that above. So as we were descending, our temperature was actually dropping, which made it an unacceptable risk for icing.
Maybe half an hour after we started, that Dara said she wouldn't make it. She would turn back to Kulusuk.
So I decided to turn around.
For me, it was clear if Zara turns back to Kulusuk, we also had to turn back. I just talked to Duncan and said no, her plane is much smaller, so maybe this is an issue, and we were heading down to Narsarsuaq.
Okay, well, all the other planes decided to try and head up above the cloud and take a different route further away from the coast. And so I realized back in Kulusuk on the ground that was probably the right decision. We were talking to Duncan at the time on the radio, and Duncan was being really helpful in telling us exactly what was going on where he was.
Yeah, the weather is always a challenge, as I said, because you can't really fly in cloud when it's below freezing in most of these aircraft. So if the air temperature is below 0 degrees centigrade, you've got to stay clear of cloud.
And so then we decided to do that instead. So then we took off again from Kulusuk and went the route that Duncan and his team took. By the time that we cleared that east coast and headed over to the west coast, it was beautiful weather, just blue skies, and it was really, really nice.
Sorry, did I just say that on video? You did. What air temperature have we got now? -2, so we're going to have to go through a gap. Yeah, but funny enough, I think there's plenty of gaps. It's getting better as we go over, isn't it?
Golf Foxtrot India on ground time 27, Marshall at taxiway Bravo.
Well done, well done. Yay! You can stop being emotional now. I feel quite emotional actually, strangely enough, and I don't normally. We've arrived. We've done it. We have. Well, we've done half of it, but we've done it.
And day 7, we woke up and we went from Nuuk to our final stop for the Greenland Air Trophy in Narsarsuaq.
It was almost like, mission accomplished, right? It's like, hey, we had a goal to get there. We finally met everybody. We heard of, obviously we're on this WhatsApp group. Oh, now I can put a, face to a picture or name. And it was just great to connect with everybody and to share, experiences because we were on this trip together. It's almost like we had a common destination, but we all came from different locations, places, and countries, and whatnot, and finally ended up at the same place. It was a beautiful thing.
We were all really excited for the event, and we were all really excited for the fact we each just crossed a part of the Atlantic Ocean.
The feeling when we landed was just exhilarating. We'd made it to Narsarsuaq, and it had been a long journey, and it had taken a lot of planning, and there had been some hairy moments, but it was all worth it to feel that feeling of accomplishment when we finally made it.
The STOL competition and the precision landing competition is going to be right here, so we're going to have a team meeting here, or a team dinner in a couple of hours, and then we're going to have the competition tomorrow morning right here.
The competition, it was fun. I'd done only a couple other STOL competitions before. To be honest, I thought we'd had it in the bag. We did not. So initially, because we have the only plane that's really a STOL airplane, I thought. So it wasn't even having to be pilot skill. The plane should have been capable of beating everybody there. However, I didn't know much about the Shark that Zara was flying when we met there, or the fact that Zara was capable of getting it down that quickly. So she actually beat me in the precision landing. So she was able to touch her wheels down more precisely than I was. The competition was fun. It was a fun event to have some bragging rights. And
on the Sunday after the competition, they open the gates of the airfield and allow the locals to come in. And again, the Narsarsuaq as a town probably has less than 200 inhabitants, but they bring their families along and they come onto the airfield and they have a look around the airplanes, and we let them sit in the airplane and have a look and have their photographs taken, and they've got lots of questions. They're always very, very enthusiastic.
A lot of people went back from Greenland to Europe. Megan and I carried on to go to Oshkosh, which was the big aviation conference.
On our way out of Narsarsuaq, the other guys had all taken a boat ride around the fjord.
And then we had heard on radio that Zara and Megan had to go ahead to Canada, and for goodbye they just made an overfly over the boat, directly crossing us and then waving the wings for us to say goodbye.
Zara and I decided to give them a buzz, so we flew right down over their heads, woo, and gave them a wave goodbye.
This moment, never think about going. Won't you stay with me for a little while? Got myself free falling deep into
the most mind-blowing trip, most awe-inspiring trip I've ever done in my life. It was fantastic.
I think it was a fantastic adventure. with people that I can now describe as friends.
And stay in this moment, never think about going, won't you stay with me for a little while?
The most incredible, challenging, beautiful experience of my life.
Yeah, that's an easy one. So I really could say that was the journey of my lifetime.